When the show ended a few weeks ago, I found myself, like so many others, grateful for the journey but a little disappointed by the finale. This piece of fan art grew from that feeling, an attempt to imagine a gentler, more joyous ending while still honoring the creators and everything they gave us. And of course, one more adventure for Carrie. I hate to see her go, but goodbyes are a part of life. This is simply my love letter back to the characters and the world that have meant so much to so many. See you around, Carrie. Sunday, I headed out to Via Carota in the West Village for some cacio e pepe, and there she was, Carrie, tucked into a tiny table, pretending to read a book, but really reading the street. The table was set for two, though like myself, she was only one. And beside her sat a perfectly chilled cosmopolitan, her eternal plus one. As potent as Proust's Madeleine was to evoking a memory, one sip could take her back to every laugh, every heartbreak, every late-night cab ride home. Maybe happiness isn't about who takes the empty chair, but about being brave enough to keep it waiting, just in case the universe decides to send company. So what happens when the table set for two becomes a mirror, reminding us not of who's missing, but of how far we've come on our own? Is happiness found in the company we keep, or in the courage to sip alone and still leave room for more? A few days before the John Singer Sargent exhibition closed at the Met, I went to say my farewells to friends on canvas who had come to feel like confidants. As I wandered from gallery to gallery, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, Carrie. Standing before Madame X, she was lost in the same gaze that had once scandalized Paris. What were the chances? That in just a couple of weeks our paths would cross again? I wanted to tell her how her own journey through grief, mourning Mr. Big, had steadied me in mine, after losing my husband only weeks later. But before I could speak, I hesitated. And just as I decided to walk away, she turned. She squinted, her eyes narrowing into that unmistakable Carrie sparkle, and smiled. Well, well, she said, are you following me? Because if you are, I should warn you. I'm terrible company in museums. And with a tilt of her head, a swish of lace, she left me standing there, smiling for the first time in weeks. It was one of those village afternoons that felt more screenplay than sidewalk. The trees leaning in, the breeze hitting its mark. I sat at a cafe with a book I wasn't reading. Grief does that. It freezes you, while the world keeps cueing the next scene. Then I heard her. Should I be worried? First the Met, now my cafe? If you're stalking me, I don't give autographs before coffee. I looked up. Carrie, all in black, like Audrey, but fresher. And just like that, the city tilted back into focus. Coincidence, I said. Though you're better company than Madame X. She smiled, slid into the chair. Cappuccino, to the waiter, then to me. So do you always haunt galleries and cafes? Or am I just lucky? And I realized, maybe grief doesn't disappear. Maybe it just waits for someone to share the table. Or was it that sometimes the universe delivers exactly the company you didn't know you were looking for? It happened again, this time at the Strand, where grief and dust motes collect between first editions. I was reaching for Baldwin when I felt it. That prickle, like the city itself had decided to arrange another cameo. Careful, came her voice, lilting as ever. That one bites. James Baldwin will rearrange your whole interior life. I turned. Carrie, sunglasses pushed into her hair, a paperback tucked under her arm like contraband. Like Audrey, but fresher, always fresher. You following me? I asked. She grinned. Please, if I were following you, I'd at least change outfits. We stood there side by side, the silence filling up with spines and titles. For once, I didn't feel the urge to escape. Finally, she tapped the book in my hand. Take it. Sometimes what hurts most is exactly what saves you. And just like that, she was gone, disappearing down an aisle like a sentence unfinished. A few days later, I wandered into Washington Square Park. The air smelled of falafel and weed, the fountain gushing, ringed with its usual mix of students, tourists, wanderers. I wasn't looking for her, though maybe part of me always was. And then, Carrie, not in heels but curled on a bench in ballet flats, notebook on her knees. Not writing, just watching, the way grief drifts you off the page. Careful, I said. Stare too hard and the street might start writing back. She looked up, squinting into the light, that quick smile. At least it'll spell better than I do. She shut the notebook, patted the space beside her. I sat, a coffee cup between us, saxophone by the fountain, pigeons scattering, a dog barking at air. Big love this park, she said. Said the arch made New York feel like Paris. My husband always dragged me through on Sundays. Said it made the city kinder. She tapped her cup to mine. To Sundays. And in that silence I understood. Grief doesn't always need words. Sometimes just a bench, a witness, and a faint saxophone. It was one of those New York nights when snow fell in silence. The village was a postcard, and not a cab in sight. I was tugging my scarf tighter when I saw her. Carrie, under a street lamp, beret tilted, waving at the cabs that never stop when you need them. Out of luck, I asked. She turned, cheeks flushed pink. Story of my life. Men in cabs. Neither ever show up when you want them. Then she laughed, brushing snow from my shoulder. Looks like you're stalking me again. A cab slowed. She pulled the door open. Come on, let's split it. Unless you've got better plans? Inside, the windows fogged, city lights streaking past, our shoulders touched. Big. He loves snow, she said softly. Said it made the city magical. I swallowed. My husband, too. She turned, eyes softer than I'd ever seen, and drew a heart on the glass. It vanished almost instantly. See? Temporary, but still there. And as the cab carried us uptown, I wondered, maybe grief is like hailing a cab in the snow. You wait forever, you freeze, you curse. And then, just when you've given up, someone opens the door and says, slide in. It was one of those invitations you accept without thinking. A gallery opening in Chelsea. The kind I once attended with my husband, glass of wine in hand, murmuring about brushstrokes. Now I went alone, calling it practice at being among the living. The room buzzed with that cocktail of self-importance and insecurity only openings seemed to serve. I was already turning toward the door when I heard her laugh. Carrie, before a canvas that looked like a crayon box on fire. She tipped her head, sipped her drink. Is it me, or does this look like a breakup text exploded? She turned, her eyes locked on mine, recognition striking like a match. You again. Should I get a restraining order? Only if it guarantees I see you in court. Her laugh cut through the room, and suddenly we were shoulder to shoulder, two skeptics in a church of believers. She pressed her arm against mine. Give me your phone. A quick tap, her number in my contacts. Tomorrow, lunch at Printemps, 1 o'clock sharp. Something in her tone, not casual, not playful, sealed it, as though the city itself had conspired to press us together, and from here, there was no turning back. Printemps had just opened downtown, all marble and frou-frou. Carrie tried on sunglasses she'd never buy, spritzed perfume like she owned the place, then pulled me into the cafe under the glass dome. Over champagne and oysters, she leaned in. Widower or divorcee? Widower married a man. Best decision I ever made. She tilted her head, softer now. Children? No children, just us. And what do you do, besides stalk women at gallery openings? Publishing. Cookbooks, mostly. They pay better than Proust. Type? Apparently, men once. Now maybe women in pink Chanel jackets who laugh at bad art. She blushed faintly. Dangerous answer. Or perhaps, flirtingly I said, an honest one. We spilled out onto the esplanade, the taste of oysters and champagne still lingering, the Hudson wind threading cool fingers through the afternoon. She slipped her arm through mine as if it had always belonged there. We walked slowly, the river opening before us, tugboats carving their paths, the Statue of Liberty holding her vigil in the hazy distance. Glass towers shimmered at our backs, but ahead only water and sky. Her pink Chanel caught the late sun like a dare against the gray. She paused at the railing. The tide whispered below. Gulls wheeled overhead. She looked up at me, eyes brighter than the city skyline. For a heartbeat, Manhattan vanished, and there was only her. I leaned closer. She didn't move away. Then, that smile sly and knowing. Not yet, she whispered. Why not? I asked. Her lips curved just out of reach. Because the first kiss should be fate, not hunger. And then she drew me along the path, arm in arm again, leaving me with nothing but the echo of almost. A week of silence, then a text. Rooftop bar, Mandarin Oriental. Samantha's in town from London. You'll adore her. I may be late. Look for the blonde in black Dolce and Gabbana surrounded by men. She didn't need the directions. The whole room pointed to her. Samantha was center stage, cigarette poised like a prop, martini gleaming in the other hand. A chorus line of men crowded around as if waiting for their cue. The moment she saw me, she clapped her hands like an actress spotting her leading man. Claudio, you're finally here. Oh my, you're delicious. Come closer, darling. Sit. Now tell me everything indecent you have planned for me. Oh, pardon me. For Carrie. Then it began. The questions. A relentless volley, each more outrageous than the last. Favorite lovers? Worst heartbreak? Am I a top, bottom, or simply fabulous? She didn't so much ask as perform the questions, tossing them like confetti, barely waiting for answers before spinning to the next. It felt less like a conversation than an interrogation disguised as flirtation. More grinder profile vetting than the polished curiosity of a high-gloss advertising exec. By the time I'd finished stammering through the gauntlet, she leaned back in her bar stool with the triumphant air of a queen who'd chosen her court. She narrowed her eyes, gave me one long, luxurious look up and down, and then that grin. Blinding, conspiratorial, wicked. You and I, she declared, raising her glass high enough for half the room to turn and look, are going to be absolutely fabulous friends forever. What I am looking for is simple, and not simple at all. A companion whose heart is steady, whose life is anchored, who can stand beside me without trembling at the storms. Someone who meets my open desires with open arms, who knows that love is not diminished by its shadows, that some truths are too raw to polish and yet must still be spoken. A partner who can share what others would bury, who is unafraid of the unshareable, who sees beauty in the cracks. Is it Carrie? Perhaps. Time, as always, will write the answer.